Hey everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations, and you with Simon today. So we've got a full moon in Capricorn, and what are we going to talk about in terms of this energy? So I think a couple of things that I do want to address before I jump into explaining what I see in this chart, and that has a lot to do with the kind of essence of Mars going retrograde, Neptune going retrograde, the recent summer solstice that took place, a lot of the activity on what is called the nodal axis, so that you can see over there and over there. So there's a lot of attention, there's a lot of energy that's taking place right now that we are trying to get a sense of understanding about. Okay, and this is completely natural. I did a couple of videos, like I said, on the summer solstice as well as the Mars retrograde yesterday, and I encompassed essences of what these symbols mean. And what I want to do today is kind of like put everything into context for us, really capture the essence of what this time is about, because I feel like it's really important, actually. You know, for those of you that are genuinely wanting to understand the context of how these planetary energies work, for those of you that are really connected with the essence of life as it is versus what we think it should be or how we idealize it, this type of communication today, this message today, encompasses that need to really get clear, get the clarity to understand this past, to use this energy as the best way, and to optimize it. Basically, I think that's what I'm trying to say in the most sort of like clear way, which I don't think I really achieved, but needless to say, that is what I'm talking about. This process of refinement and really activating these energies, embodying these energies. It's so important to embody these energies. Okay, so let's start with the actual connection of Saturn over there, the Moon, and Pluto sitting all in Capricorn. Okay. Saturn, as we know, is retrograde, as you can see by that symbolism. And we know that Saturn reflects to us where we are emotionally developing, okay? And in a very clear way, it is where the structures of our lives, based on our choices of the past, have been formed, and then how, on a moment-to-moment basis, relative to other energies influencing and shaping and changing, are we changing along with it? So we're changing each day. We're restructuring ourselves each day. We're learning about our lives each day. Okay. Saturn being retrograde, it reflects to us a revisiting. So we're going back in time and we're re-looking at things. Now, in the Mars retrograde video yesterday, I went into detail about it. And also in the summer solstice video, I went into detail about it as well. So things like dealing with collective grief is an aspect of the Saturn retrograde. Dealing with the process of where our sense of definition around who we are and what we are is being reviewed, okay? We're dealing with where we have placed and externalized our sense of authority and how we're reclaiming that sovereignty, okay? This is an aspect of Saturn in Capricorn at the moment. And at the highest level, how this energy is representing to us a time of change, a time of, or a necessity of change, actually, you know, and Capricorn is a cardinal sign. So it is an energy that is all about how do we initiate a new direction, okay? So you've got Saturn in Capricorn, you've got the moon in this full moon in Capricorn sitting between Pluto and Saturn, okay? Now, the relationship between the moon and Saturn is called the new phase. It means that when this full moon actually takes place for us, it's showing us that there's a new direction that is emerging for us, okay? Once this full moon energy takes place. Now remember, everybody, when you're watching this in your life, when you're understanding the cosmic cycles, this is a process of a wave of cycle that is coming into our experience and then will take us somewhere. Our minds are very much about the most immediate moment, just as we're paying attention to this moment right now, okay? So We're paying attention to this moment. And as we're paying attention to this moment, we're observing what is occurring for us. Now, in that essence, we're able to be present with the moment. But we're also, at the same time, unable to access the totality of what is occurring over time. That is something that Saturn also reflects. The motion of time of each and every single moment. Okay? So this new phase relationship is reflecting to us a change in time, but the nature of this change is not something that you're going to see right away. Okay? That's the first thing to keep in mind here. The relationship that Pluto has to the moon reflects to us a culmination. So we know that there is an aspect of new direction, and we know that there's an aspect of culmination occurring simultaneously with this full moon. So something is starting for us and something is ending for us at the same time. Okay? Let's have a look at what the moon is doing as well. All right, Saturn and the moon, they're making that green line over there. They're making an inconjunct all the way to the North Node. The North Node is the karmic story or the karmic trajectory of our existence. So imagine if you close your eyes and you observe that there's a path in front of you. Think about the context of what that path will represent. Think about the context of the experiences that you might endure as you go along that path. The nodes reflect to you that trajectory and the contents that you could find within that process. And you can see that when you really get deep into what the nodes symbolize as an energy, they're representing to us that along this path that is set out by these nodal axes, this back and forth experience, this storyline, let's call it a storyline. The storyline of human beings at the moment is flowing through Aquarius and Leo. So this storyline of flowing through Aquarius and Leo represents my individuation, my sense of who I am. What is my expression of who and what my life wants to be for me, right? What do I find meaning in? Okay. So when you look at something like, for instance, the moon and Saturn, you see that there's this process of change on along our path of finding who and what we recognize as our destiny. Okay, and we're going along this road and we're recognizing it. We might not necessarily understand where it's going, but we recognize it. Okay. Then on top of the node itself, there you've got that inconjunct, right? So that inconjunct over there reflects to us that even though this new direction is occurring, we might not necessarily see its direct experience. And because an inconjunct represents to us a deep need for psychological slowing down, to slow down psychologically, right? To slow down in our path. What we're doing with this inconjunct is saying, let's take a time out and let's allow this energy of retrograde with Saturn, with Pluto, with Mars, with Neptune, okay? This energy of retrograde to allow us to just breathe during this experience. So I mentioned it in the summer solstice video. I said, this is a time where we come back to ourself and we turn inward and we just go nurture our garden, okay? This is this metaphor of really just taking back. There's no reason for us to go and assert our will. There's no reason for us to go out and say, I want to accomplish this and I'm going to accomplish this. I'm actually saying to you right now that go ahead because you have free will and go and do that. And tell me what type of results are you going to get? I don't believe that you will be very, very productive between now and sort of the end of August, maybe the beginning of September. I think you will be productive in a way that is not about asserting your will and getting things done. I think it's going to be production in the sense that as you meet each day with where it is at and where you are, you will start to notice this beautiful synchronicity, this beautiful merging of, the imagery that comes to mind when I want to explain this inconjunct between the moon and Saturn and Pluto and the North Node, okay? And how this fits into our destiny line is that we're like sewing together the disconnect that has occurred between our personal sense of time and our cosmic destiny. Okay, so what do I mean by this? I mean that when you like really truly awaken to what it means to be to understand the human experience and to understand your human experience, you will notice that there's a path of surrender that must occur. And it's an acceptance that the process of your destiny, the storyline of your existence, unfolds at points in your life that you're not going to affect using the mind. Okay, using the ability to say, now is the time that I'm going to grow up and experience this moment. Or it's not about that. Okay, it's about an acceptance and allowance into that through astrological transits, through progressions, through solar returns, there will be certain sequential experiences that will activate a path, and that path will be something that you meet. And so every single day we are here to meet that storyline, okay? And we're emotionally bonding with it. So the emotional bonding that is linked with the destiny line is what I encourage everybody to see as the next month or 2 months unfold, right? An inward journey to know what that destiny line feels like and knows, and yeah, what it knows, what you know about it, and how you feel about it. Okay. And it's again, it's just like a kind of like little beautiful merging of and putting things together. Okay, so enough of me babbling over that over there. I think it's pretty clear in that sense. When you look at the Mars energy, it's in opposition to Venus. Okay, and if you notice that we have a planet on the north node and we have a planet on the south node, we have a planet squaring the nodal axis, and we have a planet squaring the nodal axis, right? So the essence of this energy is like it's all for the next phase, okay? It's all for the next phase. So what do I mean by this? I mean that, again, because we've got a karmic storyline that's being heavily influenced by Jupiter and Uranus and Mars and Venus, all of us are going to feel the pressure to go into these 4 little areas. Oh, I've got inspiration and I want to act there. I've got a new way of understanding this. I want to go there. I desire this. I want to go there. And in each moment, we're going to feel this pressure to go in these different directions, the pressure to grow, the pressure to feel and desire something, right? And what I'm encouraging us to recognize is that these energies are not there to be acted upon, okay? They're not there to be acted upon. They're there to witness insight and awakening, okay? So what do I mean when I say witness insight and awakening? I mean that the Jupiter in Scorpio squaring the south node and Mars is that there is a liberation, okay? There's an objectification. There's observing, all right? When we look at the Uranus that is squaring the Mars energy over here, there's this change, this radical insight that's occurring, but that's coming in fractured ways, right? So you're witnessing a redistribution of your values. You're watching a need to step back and just observe the context of what's occurring for you right now in your life, right? And not act upon it, but observe it, okay? Jupiter connecting to the north node, right? How are we, in a sense, like merging and bonding with, you know how I talked about the core context of taking this universal sense of self that is multidimensional, that has multiple layers to it, that's moving through time and space with its own experience, right? Its own like wanting to digest. Like right now, I have a certain interest in something at the moment, and my body is pulling me in that direction. I want and when I digest it, I feel like I'm being nourished. And yet I can choose another path that seemingly looks exciting, and yet when my body moves towards it, I can feel the resistance in me. So what am I doing? I'm observing what I'm being pulled towards, and I'm allowing whatever that is to be digestible through myself. And this is the key here with Jupiter squaring the north node, right? This Jupiter and Leo, or should I say Scorpio and Leo, is about how we merge with something, how we osmose. How many times have you been in a relation, or how many times, let me start it this way. When you felt a connection to somebody that you, in a sense, went, I can't actually stop thinking about the person, or I feel so strong bonding to the person, right? Did your body say, nope, don't want to do this, don't like this at all, even though your feelings and everything are going, yep, this is something that you want to do, right? You generally don't act the opposite way to what is pulling you towards something that you feel magnetized to, okay? Right? Not, I mean, there are a lot of exceptions to what I'm sharing here, but you understand the point here. So magnetism and the wanting to merge with it is the Leo Scorpio square. It's that tension between, oh, I love this, I want to merge with it. How many of you have watched, like, a binge watch astrology videos? When you found a video and you really liked it, and then you just typed in the search button, like, oh my God, I just got to go and find out everything about it. And then you just surf the web, and 4 hours later, time has disappeared into the existence of non-existenceness. And you're sitting there and you're like, wow, I just digested so much. I was so engrossed in the experience, right? That's what the square between Scorpio and Leo is about. So Jupiter pulls us into this wanting, this reconfiguration of your naturalness towards something that you feel that is part of your destiny line. So Jupiter is pulling us closer to what we like, and Uranus is really, really on that north node saying, do you value this? Is this where you want to spend your time? Is this what you want? And that energy to the north node is pulling us and saying, I love the feeling of validation of my realness, my authenticity. And then it connects to the south node and says, don't value those things anymore. Don't like those things anymore. Don't want to interact with those things anymore. That's the Jupiter and the Uranus that's connecting to the south node there, right? Okay. Let's go ahead and look at the context of the sun sign, right? The sun sign in opposition to Saturn, in opposition to the moon, right? We've got Chiron over there. I don't actually see the square to Chiron, but Chiron is squaring the sun at the moment. It's been squaring the sun for quite a while, to be honest. I mean, this is the sensitivity that we've really been feeling at a subconscious level that's driving us to want to find more authentic ways of being, more real ways of being. And it's healing us on some level. And then, of course, the Saturn that's squaring the Chiron in there as well, right? So Saturn squaring Chiron, Sun squaring Chiron, the Sun and Saturn in opposition. So let's look at this, right? I wrote about it in the full moon article, which hasn't been posted yet, but it will be done soon. So let's just go a little bit back into the context of human existence, okay? When you look at the relationship between Capricorn, which is sitting over there on the chart, let me just point it out there, Capricorn, and its natural square to Libra, okay? And then Capricorn's natural opposition to Cancer, and then its natural square to Libra, okay? So Cancer squares Libra, Capricorn squares Libra, there's a 90-degree angle. Each house is divided into 30, so 30, 60, 90, right? The square and the square. Between Cancer, Capricorn, we're dealing with our inner and outer emotional self, okay? So for me, we all have an inner world, and we can correlate this very simply to the Cancer archetype, okay? Right? This is where you are in your own time, right? This is your own processing. This is where you are personally within yourself, okay? Capricorn then says, in that unique space that I'm in, that unique trajectory, this is how I'm asserting my fatherness, in other words, my capacity to lead myself into the direction. That's why Capricorn correlates to self-responsibility at its highest level, self-mastery. It's because when we take the Cancerian energy of emotion, that where we are, and we then place it into choice making that ultimately leads us into a direction, we're taking the Cancer axis, and then we're allowing the Capricorn axis to be like the leading edge into that, okay? So Cancer Capricorn will correlate to gender role assignment, or gender in the sense of how we identify ourselves. So this is an important thing for us all to understand, because if you really, 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 really want to get this energy right now, and you want to understand why I use the word time, and you want to understand what true authenticity is about, then getting down with the Cancer Capricorn axis is a really, really good thing to do. Okay. And I mean it like this: Cancer and Capricorn, time. Cancer, motion, or should I say Capricorn, motion, and Cancer, emotion. So motion and emotion is the nature of how we are moving from one experience to the next. Okay. So right now, everybody's focused on this video. And as we are focused on this video, we are in this moment, and we're consistently processing what I'm sharing with you and what you're digesting from me, right? Okay. So Cancer Capricorn is this axis of how we are relating to the outside world relative to our own individual space, our own individual timing, okay? Because we all have an individual timing. Now, this square that takes place between Capricorn and Libra and Cancer talks about that over the last, like, God knows how long, the external conditioning pattern of humanity has been rooted in giving your time to somebody outside of yourself, or that we as a human race have created a life, created experiences in which the expectations, Libra, of other people's time or other time that is outside of ourselves, and then how we emotionally connect with that. So when the context of this conversation here is the square between Chiron, Sun, and Saturn and the Moon. Okay, this T-square that's happening here in these cardinal signs, because it's all about change. Look at the new moon, the full moon that's happening on Saturn. Okay, it's all about change, and it's change relative to your unique values. It's change relative to your essential space. Where is your body in time versus the existential idea of where you should be, and how you are consistently in the tension between, I don't really want to go to work on this Monday over here because that's not where my body is. My body is in a different time. I'm processing it at a different time. And think about how we have to take our emotional identity and place it in something outside of ourselves, and then feel how we have to assert our will to make that happen. And how many of us experience that feeling of not wanting to be at a place because the expectation is putting us there. Now, the key here in true sovereignty is the recognition that even though we do live in a world where there is a tremendous amount of expectation and behavior that we must act upon in order for us to fulfill society's needs about what we think we should be doing, there is that process that's there. And some of these attachments, some of these choices that we've made means that we have to uphold these outside sort of expectations. But progressively, you will begin to see that over the next span, from 2012 all the way up until the rest of as evolution is going forward, we are going from the need, or from the desire to want to fulfill those needs existentially, to not giving a shit at all and going, that's not where I am in my space. I don't want to be there. And that is the true revolution. The true revolution is the authentic space that you honor within yourself and saying, but I'm not really in a space to want to process things. That's not where I am. I'm here. And that space right now is to just sit and stare at the birds, right? Or I just want to drink tea in peace and not have people around me, because that's my space right now. And that is what this is about. That is what the whole entire friggin' context of this is about, is this evolutionary trajectory in which we're moving away from the need to have our emotional identity connected to something outside of ourselves and say, we've got to be there and the expectations there, and you don't want to do that, right? When this actually takes place and everybody begins to, through an activation, it's not going to be like everybody's going to wake up and go, okay, yeah, I get this, and then I'm going to do it. No, it will come through a deeper need to not sacrifice yourself for something that you don't value personally for yourself. Uranus and Taurus, okay? The individuation process is coming into the body. Okay. This is not a game. It's not like this is what we get to choose to experience, right? This is the trajectory. This is the global conditioning experience, and it's happening and it's influencing on us, and we're either on board with it and we're experiencing the joy and wonder of what it means to be human, or we're sitting next to it going, I have control, I have control. But really, actually, at the end of the day, you're just going to be in resistance to something that's going to eventually at some point say, look, you've got a choice. Are you on board or off board? Now, I know that that's like a really, really deep truth to just digest at one moment, and I don't expect everybody to listen to me and go, oh yeah, okay, Simon, I believe in that, and then go on with that. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just asking you to contemplate what I'm sharing here and then directly relate it to your own experience and saying, yeah, you know what? I do notice myself going, shit, I don't want to be in this place because this is not where I feel inside of myself. This is where my natural awareness wants to be. This is what my natural environment is about. This is what the natural experience is going to be for me to actually transform. Because to truly understand the essence of this trajectory, it's not about a kind of, how do I put this across? With Uranus transiting through Aries, the whole entire world exploded with people going, oh my God, I can actually go on the internet, create a web page, and then start doing things I love. And all of a sudden, that's what you're doing. Have you ever noticed? I mean, my children over there, I'm completely and utterly like bombarded with YouTube channels, okay, of children that are between the ages of 5 and 10 years old that are reaching just under 50 million views on creating something, okay, and their parents are interacting with it. Those kids will never know what it's like to work, and that's an amazing thing. Right? Because the context of free energy is available on the planet. They are the future in the sense that that's where we're heading, where time is unique to you. You understand this point? Time is unique to you. Whatever it is that you want to do, that's your time. And this energy pattern right now is basically moving us into that direction, right? And so we, as in the people that are sitting here today, and myself and you, we're getting into and aligning with that process. And slowly but surely, the paradigm of structure, Pluto through Capricorn, will literally decay into the point in which the essence of true individuation will be available to us. So when Uranus transited through Aries, it didn't go, oh, I'm just going to cause a whole lot of like fuffle around, people feeling like who's a Pluto and Libra? Who's a Pluto and Libra in this chat today? And ask yourself the question, from 2012 up to 2017 and 18 when Uranus went into Taurus, how many of you really, really awoke to the fact that your choices of the past up until that point in time had led you to attachments to things that you no longer felt were where your energy wanted to be? And then through that process, you began exploring. And as you began exploring, you found freedom. And now you're in the situation where you've got two sides of reality. One of them is like dealing with the karmic choices of the past, which are not necessarily a negative thing. And then the desire for freedom on the other side. And you're sitting between the two going, here we go. I'm pulled between the two. Right? Why did that happen? Because not only is the polarity point of Pluto in your personal natal chart, Aries, Uranus just went across that whole thing and said, awaken, awaken, awaken. And so what you had happened to you was you woke up and said, I'm completely depressed. I don't like this anymore. I don't want this. I want freedom. I want my own space. I want my own choice. Right? Why do you think that happened? It wasn't just like a random coincidence by some existential being that smoked a joint and then said, okay, now I'm going to pass this on to humanity for shits and giggles. No. It was like, this is the energy of what we're heading into and we're experiencing. So when Uranus transits through Taurus, what do you think is going to happen? Literally, Uranus will take all of the insight and awareness and awakening senses and come into the body. And what's going to happen is we're going to slow down into the time that is yours. What is your time versus everybody else's time, right? And this is true individuation. That is where we're heading. That's where we're going to. We're not, it's not like we're heading there and then that's where we're going to be there and be like, woohoo, yeah, we're fine. I mean that this mutation is occurring within ourselves and we're just watching it unfold for us. So if I were to honor my own individuation process and my excitement, when I look at this chart over here and I see Pluto and the moon and Saturn all in that little bubble over there at the top, and I look at the nature of the sun transiting through Cancer, and then I see it squaring Chiron, right? And I see the aspect of Chiron being hit over there. What excites within me? It excites in me that there is a change regarding the inner and outer relationship of your own personal time, and that because Chiron is the bridgeway to Uranus, naturally speaking, Uranus becomes involved. And then you see Uranus accessing the karmic nodes. You see Uranus squaring the north node and the south node, squaring Mars, squaring Venus. And then not necessarily in a direct opposition, because it's not really, but Jupiter on the other side squaring it and saying, notice how your value and your naturalness around your desires are being altered, right? Jupiter and Scorpio, Uranus and Taurus, and you're coming into your body and saying, this is where I want to take my time. This is where I want to spend my time. And we're basically feeling this absolute need to say, or becoming sensitive towards, this is where my time wants to be, and that's where I don't want to put my time. And this is the process of coming inward, recognizing your own space and saying, this is my garden. This is where, and I kind of like going over it 100 times over here. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to say, the expectation from attachments linked with an existential time and wanting to fulfill that is no longer going to be something that everybody wants to do. And it will become a crisis for you when you do become aware of it, or when you keep on resisting it, because you'll notice that you'll just feel full of exhaustion. I mean, this chart at the moment only shows two inconjuncts. The inconjunct between Mars and the Sun, which is that over there. You don't see how the changing of the past is, the liberation of the past is initiating a new self-identity cycle, Sun in Cancer, right? And you don't see how the Moon, which is the planetary ruler of the Sun at the moment, also inconjuncting the nodes. And look at this, right? The Sun inconjuncts the South node and the Moon inconjuncts the North node. You can't make this stuff up. It's like, it's not, again, it's, and when we really get to see this process, not only does it excite you to go, oh my God, we're actually bigger than what we think we are, we also allow us to embody it and go, hey, I'm a part of this process. It's what's happening in me. And I'm just this beautiful vehicle that's allowing it to move through me and awaken within inside of myself. And I can just chill out and watch this process and see the magnificence that occurs. And through that process, you can begin to then really, really, truly appreciate the essence of awakening yourself into something that is beyond our physical senses, right? And to truly know that this trajectory, time and time and time and time and time and time again, consistently keeps on showing up and says, it's all sorted out. It's all in progress. It's all in synchronicity. Where's the popcorn? You know what I mean? So that's something there. And, at the end of the day, I do apologize for any of you that are watching this video and came to this channel and said, I want to listen to the full moon in Capricorn. What does the moon in Capricorn mean? Does it talk about, like, am I supposed to be responsible? I don't do that. Unfortunately, I don't do that. And so that's why you might not get the value out of me as an astrologer if you're looking for that type of stuff. But when you will get value from me as an astrologer if you're really wanting to go, like, jump on this little train and say, check this magical ride that we're on, and here's this wonderland of existence that we can sit in bewilderment for. And I think that that's what's really important about my message today, is that ultimately in the very sort of simplified little thing, and thank you for sticking with me in this, I don't know, half an hour rant that I've gone on, is that this is about just waking up every single day and not asserting your life direction and saying, that is what my end goal is about. And so I'm going to put every single day, I'm going to put the effort into it, and I'm going to work it and do that. That's not what it's about. It's about waking up every single day while this Mars is in retrograde motion with all the retrograde planets and saying to yourself, what am I going to see? What is going to show up for me that's going to get stuff done in natural order? And all I need to do is just respond to that experience, just observe it. And not assert yourself onto it. Not be like, okay, I'm going to influence it like this. Just be like, and I'm not talking about being passive. Like, there are polarities here. I'm not saying go to the complete opposite side and do nothing. And I'm not saying, like, completely and utterly just move in the direction. I'm saying allow yourself to be with the moment. Allow yourself that whatever is naturally taking place right now for you, your goals, your agendas, your direction, whatever you think you need to fulfill at this point in time, allow it to be fulfilled without influencing it in the way that you want it to be. Allow it to unfold in the way that it's going to be. Okay? Cool. So that's my message for everybody today. I really hope that you got some value out of this experience. So what I'm going to do for us right now is take a 30-second break, and I am then going to do the questions and answers from all of our Patreon subscribers. And so if you would like to actually do something like this on our community, we have a Patreon community, and I basically answer questions that are coming from our Patreon community members. So if you want to stay around and watch and listen to some of those responses, then amazing. But other than that, I'd love to share my deep appreciation for your time and for your capacity to want to digest whatever I have to say. And I wish that you have a wonderful new moon. Okay, my friends? I'll be back with you soon. Okay. Okay, so I'm back over here, and I've got Patreon on the left hand side, and let's jump into some questions and answers that we've got. Okay, so I've got a question from Renee Lindsay that says, okay, she wants to know, with all the cardinal energy of this full moon, Cancer, Capricorn, and Saturn, how do we work with the Mars retrograde? Surely all of that initiating energy needs to discharge somehow. Okay, so this is a really good question, and I suppose I might have answered it in some way through this message. And the way I see this Mars retrograde inside of myself is like, imagine that at the sort of the bottom of your belly, there's this fire that is sort of cultivating itself, right? There's this energy that is just simply wanting to arise within yourself, right? And it's slowly gathering momentum, and it's very slowly just wanting to bubble up, right? So it's this very small little flame that's existing at the bottom of your solar plexus, right? Just under your belly, and it's kind of like gaining a little bit of traction consistently like this. And what I see this Mars retrograde in Aquarius about has to do with firstly, a deep deconditioning cycle, okay? A deconditioning of the ideas that you have about what you think your life should be about, okay? What you think your individuation or your individuality or purpose is about. And this flame is kind of like slowly but surely wanting to be given attention. Okay, so firstly, the attention is looking inwardly at it and going within and being very still. It's a deep stillness. So the Cancer Capricorn energy is this inner and outer relationship that you have to yourself. It's the way that you identify with yourself, and that identification ultimately becomes the way that you make choices that then leads you in a specific direction. Okay, so this compass that you have, this energy at the moment with this fire that is wanting to kind of like become a more louder in you. It wants you to breathe into it. And the breathing into it is an exercise of really getting in touch with what is your space about? What is your time about? What is your essence about? So for me, if I had to express what it's about for me, if you had to ask me the question, Simon, what would be, if you had to spend, say, this is a great question, right? What would you do with your time if you had no expectations? Nothing. You just literally got to sit with what you had, and what would you do with your time? What would you experience? Where timelessness was the almost the embodiment of alignment. Okay, so timelessness being when you're so engrossed in something, when you're so merged with something, you actually lose the essence of time. Like with these videos, it's like my mind goes, okay, I'd like to do at least a 15-minute video, and then I'll end up talking for half an hour, and it's like, oh my God, is that how much time went? So the essence of time becomes dissolved when you are in a sense in alignment with something that gives you deep satisfaction. Okay, deep satisfaction, something that pulls you towards a higher expression of yourself. Okay, and right now at the moment, that fire wants to catch that thread. It wants to sit with it. And what we've got to do is we've got to kind of like decondition ourselves from the thoughts and ideas about what we think we should be doing versus just nurturing this inner essence of us that wants to burn deeply within us. Okay. So actually tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a presentation on Saturn, the path of individuation, where I'm really excited about. Okay, so this is what you said. Okay, what do you want to do, Simon? Well, I'd be like, okay, well, I could spend an entire day creating a presentation for this message that I would like to share, which is how to help you as the person sitting here understand your own needs, understand what those needs do to support an ongoing realization of your own individual path, and then through that process, witness directly for yourself true empowerment. Okay, that's what I love. I'd be like, oh my God, I could talk to 100 people a day that would come to me and say to me, Simon, okay, so could you explain to me how my Venus works in my chart? Like, yes, this is how this works. This is what your essential need is, and so on and so forth. Now, to me, I want to have that burn deeply inside of me, and it does. But I want it to be so loud that is what I see, and that's what everybody else sees. And to a certain degree, it's the truth. But right now, this kind of Cancer Capricorn energy is asking me to really sit with it and say, watch how that process will unfold for you in the timing that is necessary. Okay, and allow yourself to observe what little subtle experiences of awakening will contribute and add to the overall passion that you have about something. Right? So it's about picking up pieces and then putting those pieces together and saying, okay, I see this beautiful thing unfold in front of me. So the Mars retrograde is saying in December, September, and October last year, new phase Mars-Venus made a conjunction and it initiated a new direction. The Mars retrograde now says part of this initiation that took place last year needs to be readjusted. And the readjustment is authenticity. And the authenticity is getting in touch inwardly within yourself around what is real for you, what's your timing about, and then how do you cultivate that path every single day of your life, okay? Right. So exactly, as you write about it in the chat over there, for me, it's about relaxing a little bit more, feeling better about slowing down, maybe making some more time to experiment in the kitchen. Brilliant. That's it. So they get in touch with that process. Right? At an emotional level, get in touch with that essence. Okay? And again, to add to the Mars energy is slowing us down and saying there's no need to rush it. Okay? How many of you, like maybe in your case, as you write in the comments over here, you talk about making food, right? I feel, I don't know if that's what you're talking about specifically in terms of the kitchen. Think about something that you want to make, okay? And ask yourself that if you rush the process, how would that rushing of the process give you something of deep quality, okay? And then ask yourself, would you put, say for instance, you're making like baking a cake, or you're making some food, would you put certain ingredients before another ingredients and see the same result? As an example, when you build a house, for instance, do you build the roof? So this energy is really asking yourself to get in touch with what is the natural flow of things, and then how those natural flows or that natural process of timing actually naturally comes into place, and that all you do is you kind of respond to those natural sequences and then watch how the thing actually develops itself. Okay? Okay. So Monica, you're writing, so let's have a look. The full moon touches my natal nodes, Mars retrograde, and the current south node are my descendants, okay? And your Jupiter is on your moon and your Neptune. So you say that you've, for the last few days, felt like it's hit something bigger within yourself, and the energy has been really, really depleting for you, like a total software reboot. So what does the full moon energy mean? Or the full moon, what does it mean, the full moon on my south node? Completing a cycle of old ways of relating to groups. Yes, that's correct. Absolutely, Monica. Like, because I know your work personally as well. This is an important thing. So Monica has, a lot of energy that's touching her own personal nodal axis. And so just as any one of you that's listening to this video right now, if you've got planets that are on your nodal axis that's being affected by this current full moon and new moon cycles, then there is a message here for you. There's a change in this process for you. And what you want to do is you want to allow yourself to see how the old outdated patterns are no longer serving a more meaningful existence for you. And when I say more meaningful, I mean a more deeper experience versus a more sort of horizontal experience. You want to go deeper into the essence of the experience and really allow it to transform and digest you. Okay. Irina is asking a question. For those of us that have experienced our nodal return, i.e. North Node on the North Node and South Node on the South Node. So any of you that have got the South Node in Aquarius and the nodes have moved over your own natal South Node in Aquarius, this question applies to you, right? And that you have the Sun in Cancer and you have Uranus squaring the nodes in your own natal chart. Wow. Okay. So Irina has the Sun in Cancer, which is what we've got there, and she also has Uranus squaring her nodal axis in her natal chart, and it's happening right now. How magnified this time period is. So this time frame is extremely magnified for you. Absolutely. I mean, just the fact that the nodes themselves are on your North and South Node, for any of you that's listening to this, there's going to be totally the essence of your own personal life being shaped and influenced by this in a deep, deep way. Totally. It's a very dramatic time for you right now. Okay, so I feel really empowered and tuned into all these energies. Most of the things you've shared about this time have just been experienced, and I feel that there is a lot of synchronicity. Totally. And I'm happy for you about that, to be honest. And I'm glad that there is, that on some level you're able to access this space of the soul's trajectory and really allow yourself to process the context of it. And because you're going through a nodal return right now, and for anybody that goes through a nodal return, think of it as a point in time in which there is a synchronicity between the current energies right now and what your soul has chosen to experience as your life went on. Do you understand what I mean by that? Okay, so when you get born, you have a specific destiny line, right? This nodal axis, that's this trajectory, the story that your soul wants to kind of walk along that makes sense, allows you to make sense of everything else. Well, think about it. When the nodes that are transiting come into synchronicity with those nodes on your natal chart, compare the context of what your soul wanted to do in this lifetime, natal chart, and then look at the current transits that are occurring right now and see how those are influencing and shaping what your soul wanted to do. Does everybody understand this, right? So evolution and evolutionary potential are meeting at the same time when you have a nodal axis that is returning. Okay, so let's have a look if there is any more peeps that are jumping onto some questions. Okay, so there isn't any over there. I'll hold the space for another 5 minutes, and if anybody is on Patreon that wants to ask any questions. I wanted to share with everybody that if you are interested in learning evolutionary astrology, I am starting a class, a 6-week class on the Sunday, the 1st of July. And if you would like to participate in that class, just please send me an email. And the email you can find here. I'll type it in in the chat. Okay. Whoops. There we go. So send me an email and say, hey, I'm interested in studying astrology with you. Let me tell you a little bit about this course while I wait for maybe 1 or 2 questions to come up. This is a very intense course in the sense where I teach you the 12 archetypes and I teach you the Pluto and the nodes. And what you basically get out of this class is the ability to look at a chart and understand it from an evolutionary perspective. Okay. And so we meet, you get a whole bunch of reading and listening material, and we'll meet every single Sunday for an hour and a half where we'll just answer questions, and you can help process your own chart if you want to. I know a lot of people get a value out of that. And I also accept a payment plan as well. So if you feel like this is something you'd like to do, just write to me an email. The email address is in the chat, and just contact me and say, hey, I would like to participate in this experience. Okay. So that's running on the 1st of July. Okay. So Renee, you're also writing that, Richard, here we go. And I've got another person. Oh, wow. Fantastic. So we've got 2 more questions on our Patreon. So let me press the refresh over there just to check that out. Cool, Richard. So you've got a question, and the full moon is slap bang on your natal Mars. And so a lot of frustration, anger is coming up. And you've also got transiting Jupiter in direct opposition to your natal moon in Taurus. Okay, so, the thing about this is that, so the full moon is literally sitting on top of your Saturn, let me put it this way. Saturn's on top of your Mars, and the moon is on top of your Mars as well. And I'm not surprised that you're actually receiving and experiencing a lot of anger, because when Mars is in Capricorn anyway, right? Whenever Mars is in Capricorn, as a natal placement, we're always going to experience repressed anger. And the reason why this is the case is because Mars wants complete freedom to act impulsively, and Capricorn says sometimes when we make choices impulsively, it leads to circumstances that might not be in your favor. So Capricorn has a little bit more of a need for putting a boundary in place. So sometimes when you have freedom and boundaries interacting with each other, there can be an unnatural way of how they get expressed. And because of that being the case, there's a tendency to feel as if your actions are being blocked. Okay, which from the perspective of our ideals about what we want in our lives, we can experience the loss of a feeling in control. We can experience our emotional reality of being repressed. And then there's also the context in which we grew up, in which there was a lot of repression and oppression in our lives, and we couldn't act in what was natural for us. And so therefore we repressed a lot of the frustration and anger. So when you have something like this occur, then naturally speaking, a lot of repressed anger will come to the surface. And at the end of the day, transiting Chiron, which you can see on the chart over there, is actually squaring that as well. So there's going to be a deep sensitivity, so some wounding around your own feelings of asserting yourself in the world and feeling as if you could make headway. So right now, my suggestion to you is to just really sit with the nature of that anger right now and get really, really connected to the pain so that you can get to the origins of it. And then from the origins over there, to really allow yourself, step 1, with self-reflected empathy. At the end of the day, if you're going to heal these types of things, you've got to sit inside the pain and allow yourself to just really, from the inside out, be okay with it. Be okay with the fact that this is painful. Be okay with the fact that sometimes you've never had your desires met through exerting your will and it struggled with it, and just see how that process has really, really been something that has not been favorable to you, or has been favorable to you. In some circumstances, the Capricorn has really prevented you from doing something that might have just led you into nothing, with Aries just being about just exerting. Okay. And the empathy is important in this process. Okay. So let's have a look. What else is there? Okay, and then you're talking about Uranus transit is directly opposed your natal Uranus. And yeah, so that's another thing as well. When you've got your Uranus opposition at the moment, this is a time of deep psychological and emotional change that will be taking place for you. And another thing that with the Uranus opposition, we're talking about change regarding one's own, like your metaphysical womb. You're coming out of the metaphysical womb and you're being birthed into a new reality. So when you go back to the process of our lives, when we were born into the physical life, we come through a physical womb, okay? And that is the physical essence of our existence. And then between the ages of 38 and 44, we go through what is called the Uranus Opposition. And that is when we actually break out of the conditioning field that was that physical womb and into a metaphysical world. And that process is going through the birth canal again. So, you know, you're in the process, you're kind of like expanding yourself, and it means, and you're interacting with the walls, you're interacting with what has been limiting to you. So right now, this is a period of just honoring the need to liberate and break free and make big changes within your life, okay? Okay. Cool. So, right, so we have another question from Isala and, or Shayla. Right, let's have a look. Okay, how do you think this energy is setting us up for the eclipses, especially the longest lunar eclipse of our century coming up at the end of July, and this yang energy so prevalent over the summer? That's a really, really good question. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure because I haven't investigated it yet. And that's something that I'm kind of reserving for a time where I've fully committed myself to that process. So for right now, I won't be able to truly give you an answer that I feel is, valuing your own time and stuff, but I will be definitely creating some content that will really captivate that question in a proper way. Okay. So I hope that that's okay with you. All right. Okay. My friends, thank you so much for participating in this experience. For any of you that are wanting to, so every single month on my Patreon page, I create a full moon through the houses video. And what it's basically intended to do is help you process what is occurring for you during this full moon, okay? And so if you would like to have something like that happen, if you would like to participate in listening to this video, on my Patreon page, I actually have this available. So I'll link it to you. It's part of the Jupiter membership. And yeah. So let me just come back to everybody here because it's all gone away now. There we go. So I've linked that in the description over there. And this is me ending off. I really hope that you got something out of this. Have a wonderful week, everybody. And I will see you soon. Okay? Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.